All right. Thank you for joining us again. And thank you, a very special thank you to our speakers and moderator and our ASPB members for joining today's webinar. My name is Jason Padilla, and I'm your technical host. And so we're super excited that you all could join us today, and very excited that we have some esteemed speakers join us in today's talk. Next slide. This webinar is brought to you by Plantae, the open online community for plant scientists powered by the American Society of Plant Biologists. I would like to give a special thank you to all our ASPB members who are attending today. Your ASPB member dues help support making this webinar possible. For any of you who have not yet joined ASPB, you can join today using the discount code %10 to receive a 10% discount on your registration. Know that your ASPB members, you'll get early access to this webinar, and you can learn more about ASPB and all the opportunities we provide at aspb.org. Next slide. In addition, please be sure to check out our YouTube channel. We've had so many amazing webinars that we've done so far. You can find and rewatch all of the things that we have done and learn about plant science and various aspects and various topics by visiting our YouTube channel. Next slide. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items to make sure that you get the most out of your attendance on today's webinar. Excuse me. If you're experiencing technical issues, please let us know about those using the chat box or by emailing me at jpadilla@aspb.org. If you have questions for our guest speakers, please add them to the Zoom Q&A section. Our moderators will be sharing them with our presenters today. And so you will get those questions answered for you. And so definitely, we'll want to make sure that we make your worth your time. If you are having trouble connecting or need to leave the webinar early, know that the recording of this webinar will be made available on our YouTube channel. Again, this is recorded and you can rewatch it after the webinar is posted. All right, now I'm going to turn it over to our moderators who will facilitate today's session. So take it away, Plantae Fellows.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Jason. So we will do it today as follows. We will start off by first, I would like to welcome you to this Plantae webinar. Our topic today is Greener Plates, Brighter Future, the power of plant-based diets. And we will have two speakers today. And we will do it as follows, that we start, we have two moderators today. We will start introducing ourselves, and then the speakers will be introduced. So we have one moderator introducing one speaker, and then another moderator introducing our second speaker. And in the end, we will have a Q&A. So please, during the talks, write down your questions in the Q&A sections in Zoom so we can collect them, and then our speakers are able to answer them in the end. So please collect your questions, think about them, write them down, and we will have them answered in the end. So without further ado, my name is Ann-Kathrin. I'm a third-year PhD student at the University of Freiburg in Germany, and I'm a 2024 Plantae Fellow. I do research in our model species Arabidopsis, mainly focusing on confocal microscopy and checking out vacuoles and their developmental dynamics. And I want to introduce our first speaker for today. His name is Aitor Sanchez, and he's specialized dietitianist, nutritionist, and studied food technology. He had special research stays in Sweden, in the UK, but is now based in Spain. And he is a really big person on YouTube because he's also broadcasting his knowledge over there, and is the CEO of the Alaris Nutrition Center and Alaris Academia. So he will tell us about his perspective on the topic. And I'm handing it over to him because I'm really looking forward to his talk. So please take it away.
Okay. Everything okay? Can you hear me? Just to check it. Okay, amazing. So first of all, thank you to the organization for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I want to share just as an exercise of transparent that this is my conflict of interest regarding the world of plant-based diets. I run a nutrition center, and we also provide professional training to various healthcare careers on this topic. I also have books about the plant-based diet field, and I'm a consultant also for companies in the sector. So part of my income has conflict of interest with the plant-based world. Just this transparent exercise at the beginning. So the first perspective I want to give you as a nutritionist is that contrary to what many people think, nowadays the health issues, the health problems for those who follow a plant-based diet are not due to a lack of nutrients or malnutrition. They are exactly the same health problems faced by general population. In recent years, we've seen a democratization and significant expansion of this sector, which has made easier to follow this type of diet, resulting in a diet that is practically just as similar as a Western diet. And this is a warning against the historical advantages that the 100% plant-based diet has presented over the past decades. We had very robust scientific evidence and a lot of epidemiology studies. You can see two main studies in this slide, the EPIC Oxford and the Adventist Health Studies, that allowed us to know what this type of diet was associated with lower all-cause mortality, lower risk of cardiovascular disease, lower incidence of different types of cancer. It looked amazing, no? And for the long time, the hypothesis was that vegans were healthier not only due to their diet, but because of they had a halo around them. We were also people who exercised more, they spend more time in nature, and generally more health conscious. However, in the past few decades, we've been able to obtain more precise data, and with well-controlled variables, even correcting the lifestyles, the weight, the body mass index, and the health outcomes, we had better results only um, explained by the diet, and not only compared to Western diet, also with well-designed healthy diets. But nowadays, with facing this historical moment, because this diet has the equivalent products on the market, even the unhealthy ones. We have vegan ice creams, veggie burgers, vegan pastries. So we are starting to see all this protection that the vegan diet used to offer, it could disappear. The reason is that following this type of diet in the past involved or used to involve a higher consumption of legumes or legume derivatives, fresh products, but it's not mandatory anymore. And we just started to have the first studies, you can see, showing that it's no longer the case, that we might be heading towards a future where a vegan diet is no longer offering as much protection as is used to do. Finally, it's a paradox, no? We spent decades debunking myths about supposed deficiencies that were not actually true, and when we have seen problems of threats to health of people following this type of diet for the first time is when it's more popular than ever, and due to the influence of the food industry. Between all these myths, I wanted to focus now in four main ones. That I think is important to clarify today as a nutritionist: the protein, the iron, the calcium, and the vitamin B12. Let's start with the protein. One of the myths about the plant protein is that it's not complete and is low quality. This is not fully true. Of course, we have plant-based food whose protein is not complete, but the same is true for animal protein, like sausages, burgers, or gelatin. To make a fair comparison, we also have to compare cooked protein. No one eats raw legumes, so it doesn't make sense to point to anti-nutrients as a major threat, since we finally deactivate the anti-nutrients through cooking, extrusion, soaking. So finally, legumes like chickpeas, soybean, and some types of beans have protein just as complete as meat, as we can see here in the slide. And moreover, thanks to the proliferation to many legumes derivatives, it's becoming very easy to consume enough high-quality plant protein. It's another myth. It's not true that we need to combine cereal and legume protein in every intake. It's not mandatory. And this is a belief from the 80s and has been clarified many decades ago. What do we have to do according to the protein? It's quite easy. According to the diet, to eat at least 4 portions of protein. We recommend to have 2 at the main dishes, at the main intakes. It could be the lunch and the meal, but it depends on the culture or the gastronomy. It could be also the breakfast, depending on the country, and also include another 2 extra portions in other meals. Could be nuts, a snack, soy milk, whatever you want. The thing is, cereals and nuts are sources of protein, but dietarily we don't consider them ideal sources because they provide a higher quantity of carbohydrates in the case of cereals, or a higher quantity of oils or fats in the case of nuts. So that's why the best protein source always is the legumes. This is a recommendation also, the 4 intakes of veggie protein, of plant-based protein, and this increase of the intake is a recommendation not only for the vegan population, also for general population. If we analyze the intakes of proteins that we are using nowadays, the most majority of this micronutrient comes from animal products. And we want to limit these products, especially cheeses and meat, in the current dietary guidelines. And moreover, we are in the decade of the protein. This is the protein era. The population seeks to increase protein. We have many products in the supermarket enriched with proteins. So it's to be expected that if we heard the message to consume more and more protein, the people embrace the animal products and not the veggie option. So this is a very serious issue. We have also environmental concern problem regarding with that. As we know, animal protein is inefficient, requiring more natural resources. If we obtain it directly from the legumes, it could be much better for the planet, but also for the health. Why for the health? This is the best study conducted to the date, comparing how the consumption of different protein sources affect health. The design is perfect, is very good because it involves isocaloric substitution of different proteins. So the more animal protein you take, especially if it comes from meat or red meat, is worse for your health. This study allowed us to properly order and rank how healthy is different protein source. So the order, the proper order could be the worst protein source will be the red meat or red processed meat, white meat, eggs, dairy, fish, and legumes till the end. So we have a ranking, and in the top of the ranking we have the plant protein, the veggie protein. Another myth, the iron. The false belief is that vegetarians or vegan have a higher risk of anemia, because we've learned that hemo iron is much better absorbed. This is totally true, but it's not necessary to be an advantage. In fact, the consumption of heme iron is nowadays related to colorectal cancer and type 2 diabetes, because heme iron is absorbed directly enters to our intestine, since it doesn't depend on many transported at the non-heme iron. And in the case of long-term vegetarian, once you follow this kind of diet more than 1 year, or for at least 1 year, you have a more efficient intestine absorbing the non-high iron. And this explains why there is no a greater risk of anemia, despite the dietary iron in vegan is slightly lower, but no a higher risk. In short, the iron recommendations for vegan population are the same than the general population. The priority is to increase the sources of vitamin C. We are not capable of correcting anemia just by eating more iron. That's not the key. It's much more useful to increase the amount of vitamin C and fresh vegetables, because we already have enough iron in our diets. So the usual case, or the usual origin behind the anemia is heavy bleeding, especially in women, and intestinal malabsorption. Let's go with the calcium. The calcium myth is largely fueled by the belief that dairy products are the best source of calcium. We've experienced significant pressure from the dairy industry to make us believe this. And it's true that milk or cheeses or another dairy products are a very good source of calcium, but they are not the only or the best. They do not present any extra advantage over plant-based calcium sources. So the bone density of a person depends of the calcium intake, but not necessarily because of that calcium was obtained from dairy products. And just a reminder that calcium could be obtained from many vegetables, which also offer additional advantages for bone health, because they are also good sources of magnesium, low in sodium, are a good source of vitamin K. So let's go to the real issue of plant-based diet. It's time to talk about a very important vitamin, because it's indeed the protagonist of the main dietary handicap of a plant-based diet. Vitamin B12 is a bacterial origin vitamin that humans incorporate into our diet through animal foods. Animal incorporated into their bodies through soil, through microorganisms, through bacteria, through algae in the seas. And from these microorganisms, it travels up. It travels up to animals, and it travels up to human. But nowadays, we have a great paradox, because our farming system, our pigs, our chickens, our hens do not live in nature. So we have to fortify their feed with vitamin B12 and many other nutrients for eventually reach humans. So the vast majority of animal feed includes this vitamin, which you can verify with any veterinary purchase catalog. And it's truly a health problem derived with a completely unnatural production system. So we have, in a plant-based diet, so we have to make a choice with the vitamin B2, as this vitamin is crucial for the neurodevelopment. And if we don't consume it, we could have various neurological disorders or problems. The best way to obtain it is through supplementation. It's a very safe and cheap supplement. And the best way could be to take the 2000 micrograms of cyanocobalamin. This is the safest way. We have another choices, the daily supplementation, but the absorption is not as well studied. And the third choice, to take food enriched with B12, is not a good choice, because the mass majority of these products are ultra-processed food that are not healthy. So we can correct this handicap with a very cheap and very safe vitamin supplementation, similar as we do in pregnant women with the iron or with the folic acid. Could be the same in the plant-based diet, and will be corrected with all these observations. And finally, just to share a final message, currently we know that vegan diet is not only safe and suitable for all life stages, it's also very useful in dietotherapy, because of the good results it provides for treating various pathologies. If I had to highlight some of these pathologies, without any doubt, I'll say it's very useful to treat the overweight and obesity, the heart disease, type 2 diabetes, hypertension also, constipation, diverticular disease, chronic kidney failure, and cancer. We have very good outcomes of a plant-based diet trying to prevent all these diseases. Lastly, final slide, I want to show a little detail. This is the healthy plate from Harvard, but in this vegan version, we simply had to cross out 5 words. I think it's a very small detail that could help us to understand how our diet is predominantly plant-based and how the obstacles that we have nowadays at following this type of diet, the plant-based diet, are more related with social issues and not with nutritional issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Aitor, for such an enlightening session. So I'm Muhammad Amir, and I'm a master graduate from Plant Sciences Department, Qaeda University, Pakistan. And I hold a master degree in plant sciences with a specific emphasis on weight molecular biology. So in my current role, I'm uncovering the genetic variations for genes that are actually controlling the grain number in wheat. So I will now move to our next speaker, Batuhan. He is actually a project manager at the Plant-Based Food Association, and he is currently pursuing his PhD from the Technical University of Istanbul. And he also has started working as a food engineer at the Plant-Based Food Association. So over to Batuhan.
Do you see my presentation? Okay, hi everybody again. Today we will talk about plant-based foods, which are becoming increasingly important and popular. First of all, I would like thanks to everyone who participates and organized in this webinar. First of all, I would like to briefly talk about my association and myself, but Mr. Amir said myself. We are firstly Plant-Based Association Turkey. Abbreviation is Bitkiden, in Turkish means from plant. Was established 2004 as Culinary Products and Margarine Industrialists Association. However, we realized the need for change of our word, and we changed our name Plant-Based Foods Association with an extraordinary general assembly in 2022. We give importance to sustainable food change, and we aim to be pioneer scientific and innovative studies and our sector for our country. We define ourselves with 5 characteristics: brave, scientific, warrior, responsible, and leader. We try to raise awareness of the public, especially lawmakers, about plant-based foods. Also, we join or organize some organizations, some communication activities like TV programs, radios, podcasts, YouTube broadcasts. We have national and international members who are the important place for our food sector in Turkey and global, like Lipton, Cargill, Upfield, Unilever. Today, first I will talk about the change the world is experiencing, then why we need the plant-based foods and the impacts on both environment and health. Lastly, some developments in the world about this subject. Where are we going? Earth temperature has breaking record after records since last year. This March is the 10th month to be hottest record. Also, the ice area in the Arctic area has reached its lowest area in the last 1,000 years. And in the national news, in Istanbul, due to lack of the rain for 2 months, the levels of the dams for risky levels below the 20% last year. We are going the bad direction, unfortunately, for everybody, for our world. This situation began to lead to increase in food prices. According to IPCC report published by 2021, IPCC Intergovernmental Panel Climate Change, food prices will increase almost 85% in 2050 if the world continue like this. So, in the urgent action call and statement made by some economic organization in 2022, like World Bank Group, IMF, World Trade Organization, it is emphasized that 1% increases in food prices will impoverish 10 million people. And the United Nations report released this year, this estimates that approximately 783 million people are struggling with hunger. This number is increasing every year, and this leads to economic crisis, migration, and big poverties. Not only effect on the poverty and food prices, but also effects on the agriculture, food safety, food security, and more. It has effects on the agriculture. While we balance the ecosystem, meteorology, biodiversity, and soil structure is disrupted, it will be necessary to fight more against pesticide and disease problems. We are seeing some problems on agriculture. It has effects on also food safety. Increasing temperature of the world means microorganisms develop faster. Aflatoxin, a mold toxin that occurs in grains, will be found more with increasing temperature and will reduce productivity, unfortunately. Also, increased growth of the pathogenic bacteria such as Salmonella may cause serious problem in food safety. A study conducted in Kazakhstan revealed that 1 Celsius increase in the monthly average temperature in Kazakhstan, 5.5 increased salmonella-related cases. This is the big problem. When we summarize the food safety problems, diseases caused by microorganisms will increase and water resources don't remain clean. So, the use of the antibiotic and pesticides to combat microorganisms and diseases will increase. And this will lead to antibiotic and pesticide resistance, and its residues will pose the risk for human health. At the same time, it also affects on the food security. While meeting the needs of the increasing population will be difficult with existing land, the increase in temperature will also land losses. At the same time, when we consider the food safety problems, there will be decrease in the productivity with temperature increases. For example, 1 Celsius increases lead to decrease 6% wheat productivity, like this. Anyway, we can say we must say stop to the climate crisis for both us and our planet. Heraclitus said the only thing that is constant is change. Change is mandatory. So, with plant-based food, that's the topic. Plant-based foods generally have a smaller carbon footprint than animal foods for a moment. In this graph, you see the carbon footprint produced by 1 kilogram of food. Animal products are in the top 8 places. In a study published this year, vegan, flexitarian, that is plant-based diets with fewer animal products, and diets containing meat products were compared, and it was seen that in diets, a lot of plant-based diets, the carbon footprint decreased significantly, and land and water uses also decreased. you are seeing some percentage land and freshwater uses and greenhouse gas emissions reducing. Another study also published this year, a study predicts that in the United Kingdom, where approximately 7 million people live, reducing per capita meat consumption less than 30 gram meat per day could reduce carbon footprint equivalent to 8 million cars. And another study from this year, switching to plant-based diets, in the global food production has a 66 change of halting temperature 1.5 degrees by 2050. This was the environmental effects. For health, many international organizations recommend a flexible diet in dietary guidelines, focus on the plant products and reducing the consumption of meat and animal products, because plant foods reduce the risk of the premature death and provide protection against non-communicable diseases. And you are seeing some examples from some studies about plant-based foods' positive health effects. I won't go into effects of whole slide here. In general, the study have shown that increasing plant-based food consumption has positive effects on many issues, from type 2 diabetes to mental health. This is another studies, current studies also show that plant-based foods reduce death from any cause and extend lifespan. This is very important for us. We are speaking their effects on health. I would like to touch upon the relationship between ultra-processed foods and plant-based food alternatives, which have become popular recently, but still don't have a clear definition of ultra-processed foods. In a large study, 266,000 people, high ultra-processed food consumption is associated with the risk of the cardiovascular diseases. But bread, cereal, and plant-based food alternatives, such as plant-based milk alternatives, stated to be risk-free. This was the health effects, and governments and some states have begun to develop various policies to combat climate crisis and improve public health. For example, reducing tax on the plant-based milk alternatives is being discussed in Germany. Also, strategies to reduce meat consumption are being taken in Switzerland. The United Nations also draws attention to importance of this issue. I think this is one of the most important developments for us. 2/3 of the food at the last Conference of Parties 28 in United Arab Emirates was consist of plant-based foods. Even this message says a lot about future of food. Apart from this, United States Congress wrote a letter to Biden about plant-based foods. Another independent example, Jeff Bezos, one of the richest people in the world, decided to invest plant-based meat alternatives, almost $60 million. Another example, for Cambridge University, plant-based menus started to appear at Cambridge University. Sodexo, which is the most popular company in European Union, Sodexo brand announced that they will reach their net zero targets faster than their targets by switching to plant-based menus. Shortly, anyway, everybody tried to change for greener plates and brighter future. While world leaders, policymakers, and many others leading this transformation, I believe that the world will adapt to it over time. Thanks for listening. Thanks for bearing with me.
so much, Badhuhan, for such an enlightening session. So with that done, now we will proceed with the question answer session. So I would like the audience to please type your questions in the Q&A session, and then we will ask our guest speakers to answer your questions.
Okay, we have a first question from the audience here. Somebody's asking, it could be to both speakers, by the way. And here the question is, what do you think is the biggest priority for plant biology research to get significantly more humans across cultures and geographies to adapt plant-based diets? Whoever of the two of you wants to answer, just unmute yourself and give it away.
Do you want me to start, maybe? Okay, thank you, Laura, for your question. I'm not an expert in plant biology research, but I would say that the contribution could be to develop resilient species that could be reached and could be grown in many different situations. Now we're facing the climate crisis, and probably we'll need better crops and better choices and better practices in order to face all the issues we're having. So probably in the research areas could be focused on that and all the challenges we'll need to face according to the climate crisis. Just my point of view. I'm not an expert at this field.
Aitor, would you like to add something? Sorry, Batuhan.
Yes, what's the differences between vegan and vegetarian? Vegan is the not any meatless conception. Vegetarian is favor animal foods and many type of vegetarian. For example, flexitarian, less meat, and ovo-vegetarian eat some egg products. Some another example maybe flexitarian, ovo-vegetarian. Normal vegetarian eats many sorry, vegan is not don't eat any meat. Vegetarian can be eat some meat and according to type of the vegetarians, like ovo-vegetarian, for example, can be eaten egg products.
Okay. Thank you, Batuhan. Aitor, would you like to add something?
Yeah. From the point of view of dietetics, we usually in the scientific research we use the word vegan as a synonym of 100% vegetarian or a strict vegetarian. So related with the diet issue, a person that follows a vegan diet or 100% vegan no eat any food sources from animals. That means no meat, no fish, no eggs, no dairy products, or not honey. No, but the vegan is a political position. It's not only a type of diet. So a vegan person is an activist itself, and we defend not only our practices to our daily diet, not only is restricted to the food area. In the scientific research, the use of the word vegetarian is usually used as a synonym of ovo-lacto-vegetarian. So probably when you read in a text vegetarian person, a vegetarian person probably eats dairy products or egg, but never a vegan person will do that. Just from the point of view of the diet. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
so
A little
we got
follow-up question. Sorry. Someone is also asking here if a person is totally on a vegan diet, is it enough for health?
Can I say? Many international organizations recommend flexible diets. Sometimes vegan diet is not enough for us. Mr. Aiter said, mentioned about this. And another question, nutritional yeast source of the vitamin B. Like this question, some lack of the vitamins and minerals on vegan diets need to some supplements because of the any animal sources. Do you want to add something, Mr.
Aito, would
Sanchez?
you like to add something to
Okay,
the
yeah,
question?
sure.
Can nutritional yeast be a source of vitamin B12? And if a person is taking totally vegan diet, isn't it enough for the health?
Okay, I'll answer these two nutritional questions. So there is no problem. A vegan diet is totally complete for any moment of the cycle of life. It's true that sometimes it requires supplements, but we also recommend supplements to pregnant women. We also recommend supplements to kids. We also recommend supplements to sport. So the thing is that our technology nowadays allow us to follow a vegan diet in a secure way. So there's no problem. And furthermore, there is no single nutrient that is mandatory to have in an animal source, but it's mandatory to have at least a veggie source of different intakes. Just to clarify, it's possible to follow a 100% diet following with veggies. It's not possible to follow a 100% animal diet. So it's important. Nutritional yeast, it's not a good source of vitamin B12. I know that some products and some brands sell their yeast as a good source of vitamin B12, but it's not. It's an analog, it's a structural analog. It has B12, but it's not active or as active as the vitamin B12 we use in different products. Some yeast add the active B12 as a different ingredient. So sometimes it's very common in Europe or in the States also to have a nutritional yeast that has a fortification of B12. So you have to check if that yeast has been fortified with an active form of B12 that in this case has to be cyanocobalamin.
All right. Then we have another question. I think if any one of you would like to answer that, what kind of strategies specifically in the agriculture sector can be implemented to help the shift towards the plant-based diets?
I think agriculture planning should be done for our country. Also, seeds are more resistant to various climate conditions should be produced, maybe. Do you have any recommendation?
I can only answer from the European point of view because I only know well the European politics. I think that the key and the clue in Europe would be to stop the subsidies to the animal farming because nowadays it's very cheap to sell dairy products or very cheap to sell meat in Europe due to the subsidies that support the dairy industry or the meat industry. So the better the strategy, economically talking or talking about related with the first sector, will be to stop these subsidies and try to derivate them and focus trying to help to other agriculture producers and the companies that are trying to develop plant-based solutions, not the ones that are slaughtering day by day animals like our current food production system is maintaining.
All right. So if the audience have any questions, they're most welcome to type in the QA session.
I also received another one, also for both of you, whoever wants to answer, or the two of you as well. So, if someone, I mean, there's a lot of information out there about nutrition and what's good, what's bad. If somebody wants to just generally get a better knowledge about diet and wants to switch something, where can they start? Because everything at once, changing everything at once is quite a big deal. But how can they start? What would be a good first step?
Okay, do you want me to start? Okay, I think that's the key with the fake news, with the disinformation, misinformation, with nutrition. Most of my work is trying to debunk all these myths. I think a good choice or the good first step is to follow common sense, or to avoid as a red flag every kind of message related with nutrition that say that anything is forbidden or anything is mandatory, just to avoid the extremes and to follow a common sense. For instance, when we heard that dairy products are mandatory, you just wonder, and now then, how can we have some allergies and people that follow a perfect life without dairy products? Or we can overview different countries with different cuisines or different food habits. It's like sometimes we heard here in Spain or in Europe messages like, this breakfast is mandatory. And why this breakfast is mandatory? In Pakistan you have a different breakfast, in Germany a different breakfast, in Costa Rica, in Japan, in Argentina is apples and oranges. So I think one of the first step is trying to follow common sense, and of course that the message that someone or any associations now bring a new piece of information that debunk the past from the sudden, that's not going to happen in nutrition. Nutrition has a full body of adaptation from the human being to our current diet. So no food from tomorrow is going to be forbidden. So the little steps and no big changes from one decade to another ones. The same messages we are spreading today from public health with the nutrition are the same ones and the same priorities that 2 decades ago. So try to follow the consensus and the big messages: more fruit, more vegetable, more pulses, more nuts, less ultra processed food, less sodas, common sense.
Okay, can I say?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Aitor. You say everything. I can add, consumers should be encouraged to consume plant-based foods, I think, and we must some ways to combat infodemic should be found on all roads, especially social media, because some bots and some troll accounts can be effect on the people, and this leads to negative image on plant-based foods and sustainability, and many complot theories occurs from many non-scientific people, we can say, and moreover, we must make all our policies suitable for the transition to plant-based diets without any repercussions. That's this.
Thank you very much for your answers. There's another question in the chat saying, are there any culinary schools that specialize in vegetable-based diets? So I think this question means like whether also like the whole gastronomy sector is kind of in a change, or is this still kind of old-fashioned?
Yeah, according to my knowledge, yes, there are some, but not official ones. Usually, they are based on online courses like that. I've made some of them. I know some of them in Spanish based lessons. So I will say to that person, if he's interested on maybe taking some lessons, could write me just to do not make some advertisement of any school. But yes, there are some not officials. Obviously, all the food technology or food cuisine is based in many different products, and that's why the main culinary schools are still based on general products and not veggie products. But yes, you could find some very interesting courses online.
In Turkey, there are certificate courses that come to my mind right now, but not as a school.
Okay, thank you very much. I mean, don't hesitate to write something on the chat. I got another question. I think it goes more to Batuhan's topic. It goes into the direction of where do the associations fit in there? What is their goal? What is their mission? Where do they fit in? Like you mentioned, Proveg and your own association, Bitkidan. Where do they fit in? What do they want to accomplish?
Sorry, I can't hear.
Sorry, what
Last,
part? Where do
last,
they fit in, and what do they want to accomplish, and what is their goal, kind of?
we aim to we aim to affect on the lawmakers, especially in our country. Plant-based cheese alternatives was banned in 2022, and we try to solve this problem, and we try to produce plant-based cheese alternatives. Also, we aim to make some communication activities against infodemia, especially not only plant-based foods, but also all foods, all packaged food, industrial foods in our country. And we go to some universities, some municipalities, and some high schools about this. We aim to also organize conferences. For example, in this November, we will do new organizations about plant-based foods with IPVFG, International Plant-Based Food Working Group. This like this.
We got another question. It's asking about, like, should we eat raw vegetables? Is it preferable, or should we eat like fried vegetables?
If I heard correctly, is that it's preferable to take fresh or
Yes.
minimal processed vegetables than fully cooked vegetables, no? Yeah, for
Yes.
sure. Vegetables are very, are very delicate, and when we overcook them, we destroy most of their vitamins. So there's two main issues with culinary techniques with vegetables. One is the loss of vitamins is very related with the cook with the application of temperature. So the less temperature, the more quantity of vitamins you'll remain. And the other one is with minerals. The key with minerals is that if you soak or if you put some vegetables boiling or cooking them with water, is trying to use or reuse the water in order to take and not spill those minerals. But yes, general guidelines recommend us to at least have one raw portion of vegetables per day, in a salad, in some fresh soup, tomato soup, cucumber soup, whatever. But it's important that at least one is in raw version.
Right.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we have 2 questions left. I think we will answer them, and this will be it. So the first one is, some of the plant-based cheese products in the pipeline uses genetic material from Bos taurus. Do you have any comments on this?
This is the first time I'm hearing this firstly. If you have a source on the subject, I will appreciate if you could share it after the webinar. Both stars. Interesting.
According to my knowledge of what plant-based means, at least in Europe, nowadays it couldn't be a plant-based cheese if they are using some related product, even origin from Bostaurus. The industrial plant-based cheese usually uses nuts or starches, the low quality, but the higher quality are using cashews, almonds, every kind of nuts. And this is probably the future of this sector, because nuts have more related nutrients than the dairy products, dairy cheeses, than the potatoes, starches, or coconut oil based cheese that are very low quality.
Okay, thank you very much.
We have a last question. They're asking about the evidences on omega-3 supplementation in a vegan diet.
Okay, most of this research is conducted by Dr. Sanders and their team. The omega-3 issue in vegan diets is a concern due to we heard that the main source of omega-3 in our diet is fish. That's totally true. But what we know at least nowadays is that there is no omega-3 deficiency in our body, or there is no lack of a proper EPA or DHA fatty acid. So what we know is that the physiological process in our body that elongate the ALA, the alpha-linolenic acid, the omega-3 from the veggie origin that we can find in oils and we can find in walnuts, for instance, it's enough for our body can elongate to the EPA or DHA. So it's not mandatory to have EPA and DHA. It's not mandatory to eat fish. It's common sense, but millions of people in our world has no access or has no the food security in order to access to fish or algae. So the guidelines, the vegan guidelines nowadays are that we need to try to eat daily at least walnuts or nuts in order to obtain enough quantity of alpha-linolenic acid in order to get EPA or DHA.
Thank you so much to both of the speakers. I hope everyone have some informative insights. And if you have any questions, you can ask for us via email. Now we would like to hand over the floor to the Jason.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining today's webinar. And a big shout out to our speakers, to both Aitor and Batuhan, and special shout out to our moderators, Mohammed and Catherine, for today's webinar session. I hope you found today's session informative. Know that, as I mentioned, this webinar is recorded and will be posted for your access later on. And so if you want to go back to it later on, you will be able to do so. And for those who are in attendance, we'll be providing you a certificate of attendance as well. Again, thank you for joining us in today's webinar, and we hope to see you on the next one. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.